I'm Elliot Chodoff, and welcome to Conflict Uncovered, your go-to podcast for in-depth analysis on the complex and dynamic conflicts shaping the Middle East, Israel, and the world. Join us as we delve into the latest developments, historical contexts, and the geopolitical forces at play. We bring you the insights you need to understand the issues that matter most. Stay informed, stay engaged, and uncover the truths behind the headlines. Hi, it's August 27th, 2:30 in the afternoon here in Israel. I'm joined today by the other Major Chodoff, Major in the Reserves, Dov, my son, served more than his time, and as I said, also a Major in the Reserves in the IDF. And now you get Major Squared Chodoff as part of this podcast. What we're going to be talking about today is the activities of early this week. I was awakened at about 4:30 Sunday morning by the sound of heavy artillery being fired. Fortunately, it was in the other direction. It was our artillery firing into Lebanon. And in what came to be known as the preemptive strike that stopped that morning's massive attack planned by Hezbollah. But we've got a bit to talk about because I'm not sure how preemptive it was in a grand sense, and the success scale that we've established, it seems a little strange because where I come from, living in the north of Israel, being on the receiving end of over 300 rockets that morning is not exactly what I would call an absolute success. Anyway, Dov grew up here as well. He's been on the receiving end on occasion. So, what do you think? Success?
I think what's interesting is that everybody's declaring this a success. It's not just Israel, but Nasrallah had a speech prepared to talk about the most amazing thing they've done since October 7th or October 8th when they started this. And so it almost seems too coordinated that both sides declared victory and nothing different happened than any other day in the last 230 something or so, 300 something or so something days.
Except that Hezbollah has some 6,000 fewer rockets than it did the night before.
Yeah, but 6,000 out of 100,000 is, yeah.
You're an optimist. I'm thinking closer to 300,000.
Okay, even more so than 6,000 out of 300,000. Okay, it's a small price to pay to declare victory.
Yes, and actually, what was interesting, I think, about Nasrallah's statement, he made two statements, one to the Arab world and one to the West. The Arab world statement was that their attack actually succeeded. They struck Tel Aviv. They took out military bases. The Israeli strike was a myth. It was Zionist lies. Now, everybody in Lebanon knew 100 Israeli aircraft flying and bombing wasn't exactly a Zionist lie, but never mind. And then almost in the same breath to the West, he said, well, we limited everything to just a few rockets in the north because look how moderate we are, and we didn't want to upset the apple cart and start an escalation and anything like that.
So first of all, that's something new. Saying one thing in Arabic and one thing in English, or one thing to the Arab world and one thing, that's Arafat's. That takes us back to the 90s with Arafat.
It worked for him.
I'm all for peace and love and understanding as we take over Yaffo and take over Haifa and so on.
And jihad.
Jihad. So, yeah. So,
it worked.
It definitely worked, and I don't see it's not working for Nasrallah.
No, it is working. As a matter of fact, God.
Oh, he had people celebrating in the streets with flags and the great victory. He saved their country, apparently.
And the Americans said that they praised him for his moderation, and this gives us his responsibility in not igniting a regional war means that we really do have something to build on for a comprehensive peace between Israel and Hezbollah.
And I'll pre-quote you. We're this close to having peace in our times, right?
Exactly. Just ask Mr. Chamberlain. I think the only person who was really, really upset, I mean, I'm sure Nasrallah was upset that he didn't get what he wanted, but the only person who really is in trouble from all of this is Yahya Sinwar in his tunnel.
Oh, absolutely. I think I think. Well, I would say that there are two losers in this. Unfortunately, one of them I'm very happy about, which is Sinwar, and the other one, unfortunately, is people up north. We'll get back to them in a second, but yeah, Sinwar, who's been hoping to get this thing escalated since day one into a regional war, is realizing that the Arab world is not running to go and save him. Proving once again, the Arab world doesn't really care that much about the Palestinians.
Right. There's a lot of lip service, but when push comes to shove, not so much.
Right. But it's yes, well, talk is cheap. Yeah. And throwing some
It's cheaper in the
carts
Middle East than anywhere else.
and throwing some carts out of an airplane, while you're in your military uniform as a Jordanian king. I'm saving the Palestinian people.
Right.
But one Palestinian who steps foot in my land, and that's as a refugee, and that's the beginning of a war.
Yeah, a lot of nonsense going on out there. But yeah, Sinwar, by the way, I don't know if you saw there was a report that Sinwar is no longer in the tunnels. He's dressed up as a woman, hiding somewhere in some place in Gaza.
And you said that they are not progressive in Gaza.
You see that? Sinwar shows that you can be man, woman, whatever you want.
Journalist, child.
Journalist. As long as you make sure martyrdom is something you tell other people to do.
Exactly. Yes. The latest coming out from him saying that he wants a guarantee that we don't kill him. It's an interesting one from a person who, brought so much destruction to his own people.
And who says that the revolution is watered in Palestinian blood, and everybody should be proud of martyrdom and look forward to martyrdom, and just not me.
Exactly. He's too important to be martyred.
That's true. That's true. I mean,
he goes. It should be fair. If he goes, there's nobody left.
His brother.
Yeah,
I understand that his brother is actually crazier than he is.
There's the joke running that the reason they're not sending any delegations to Egypt is because they don't have people to send a delegation, and sending one person is just pathetic.
That's right. Let's come around to the north, because really that's a good part of what I want to talk to you about as a former resident of the north, and hopefully future resident of the north. But we'll get into that another time.
We're not going to politics here, I said.
No, heaven forbid. I mean the Galilee, not Minnesota and Michigan. That's politics. We've got a new routine here. We wake up and they fire 30, 40, 50 rockets, and we say, okay, just another day in the north. Nothing to get excited over. School year is opening in a few days, not up north. Tens of thousands of people still displaced.
Yes, unfortunately, I think am I allowed to criticize the Israeli government on this show?
Please.
As an Israeli for as many years, I think one of the biggest failures we've seen is, and we saw it this week, was hit Tel Aviv and will preempt an attack at 4:30 in the morning, wake the entire country up, shake the entire Middle East, because God forbid Tel Aviv gets hit. Not even Tel Aviv, it was north of Tel Aviv.
Right.
But 300 rockets by 7 o'clock, we can open up the airport and life is beautiful. As long as they stay north of the Akko line, we're okay. We can hit south of the Akko line, but not too far south.
Not too many.
And not too many, yeah. just keep it to the north, and it's okay. And that's the message that's been sent over the last 10 months. And we've had these conversations many times. It doesn't have to be an all-out war. Try something else, because obviously what it is that we're trying now is not working against Hezbollah. And there's a line between all-out war, sending in divisions into Lebanon, style what we're doing in Gaza, and let's just keep hitting them from the air and hoping that maybe this time they'll get the message.
Right. Well, you said the last seven months or so. I want to take us back a little further. So back in your day as a young NCO serving along the northern border.
That was
After
a long
the
time
Israeli,
ago in a galaxy
I know.
far away.
I know. Well, if I can remember it, you can. I've got a couple of years on you. After the Israeli withdrawal from Lebanon, when Hezbollah had moved up to the border, after the outbreak of what is commonly referred to as the Second Intifada, but which I call the terrorist war after 2000, and the North was ignored then as well.
Yes.
When you were sent up there,
I can tell you from personal experience as someone who sat literally on the border. I don't know if you actually got to see the thing up close, but we're talking about in fall of 2000, so right after we pulled out. And they put us up in these 3 concrete blocks, about 10 by 10 feet blocks, with no room for 4 beds in them. That was the not enough beds for the people that were actually on the base at the time. And they said, "Here, protect this space." Against what? Oh, against those guys over there who were just walking around with binoculars looking at the border. Like, are we allowed to shoot them? No, that's across the border. You can't do anything. Can we scream at them and tell them to move away? No, can't do anything. What do? Just watch them. At what point do we respond? When they shoot at you.
A little late in the game, no?
Yeah.
And that was
in the fall of 2000. That was during the time of that first rocket, and we're gonna go in and we're gonna show them.
Right. Now, in the fall of 2000, what was your status as a soldier?
You have to define that.
Were you still in a training unit? Were you in a regular field unit?
Regular field.
The majority of the forces along the border at that time were infantry?
Yes. With I'll say scattered. We had a tank in the position with us. And when I say a tank, I literally mean a single tank.
Right. In other words, even back then, the northern border, I mean, where else most of the IDF at the time? Where was everybody?
That point, probably in the West Bank.
Right.
It was the beginning of the Second Intifada.
In Gaza. It was still pre-disengagement.
Right. And
the North, shortly after that, I think you were already gone from the border by that point. Hezbollah actually did start firing over the border and started firing
not by
rockets.
Us on the other side.
Right.
I was on the western side. That was on the eastern.
Right.
Unfortunately, you know the name today because it gets hit every day. It's called Hanita.
Hanita, that's right. It used to be Hanita.
Yeah.
Now it's the ruins of Hanita. And the Israeli government at the time, knowing that if it admitted that Hezbollah was firing across the border on a regular basis, that it would have to respond, the government said, no, they're not really firing at us. They're shooting anti-aircraft fire at our planes, and it happens to fall on our side of the border. And it's not quite that sophisticated today, but we're seeing a very, very similar phenomenon. A good deal of the damage that's being done is not being done by rockets and drones, although they certainly have their share, but by anti-tank missiles that are being fired, houses being destroyed, And those aren't being reported because they don't trigger the red alert. In other words, and this is for people who are listening and Israel supporters anywhere in Israel and abroad. If you think that by having the red alert app on your phone gives you a full idea of what's happening up north, it doesn't. Many, many things are coming across the border and blowing up that don't trigger the alerts. And the government is hiding behind that as well, in the sense of, well, they fired a bunch of rockets, and you see this in the reports. 10 rockets were fired, 6 were intercepted, 4 fell in open areas, and life is beautiful.
Right. Just don't talk about the forest fires that are taking place and burnt the entire north.
Right. Nature reserves being totally burned,
and
etc.
Towns being burnt and towns being burnt with.
And being burnt, right. Especially the rural villages. So, yeah, that's the post preemptive strike situation. I just want to finish with the idea that preemptive strike is reminiscent of the 6-Day War.
Well, I think that was language was used on purpose.
On purpose, except for one thing. What happened? That's exactly correct. What happened on June 5th after the Egyptian Air Force was destroyed on the ground? 3 Israeli divisions went into Sinai.
Right. And I think if we seen something like that on Sunday, then I would have been a lot more optimistic about the future of the North.
Yes.
And a preemptive really makes sense. This was not preemptive. This was just it was a bigger strike than normal.
Sure.
Because the other thing, and we know this also, there have been daily strikes against Lebanon.
Correct.
Since then, and taken out over 300, of Nasrallah's favorite people.
400 now.
400. Sorry, I lose. So hard to keep track. But this goes back to the same statement where we've been doing this now for over 300 days, and it's not working. And I've used this way too many times this week, but trying the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, as Einstein once said.
It's called insanity. That's right.
And after 2 weeks, it's not working. Try something else. And the answer was, well, we don't have time to try something else because we're too busy in Gaza. And we're too busy in Gaza. We're too busy in Gaza. We're too busy in Gaza. And now it's 300 days. Oh, well, our reservists are tired. We can't start another war now. So we'll have to figure it out.
Right.
And
of course, go on.
Oh, it was interesting because after the attack on Sunday, suddenly, I can't pronounce his name, the UN guy, the chair of the UN.
Right.
Whatever. He came out with a statement saying, oh, we should really abide by 1701.
Yeah. Dated from when?
Yeah. You mean the one from 2006 that you guys have ignored for the last 10 months? Oh, yeah. The one that says that Hezbollah should not be on the border and the Lebanese army should be there? Yeah, that's a good idea. We really should do that.
Right.
Israel attacks and suddenly the UN wakes up and says, oh, there's a UN resolution that can solve all of this.
But as you know, it was very important. After the Israeli strike, we didn't escalate. And that's really the most important thing.
Exactly.
But them wanting to fire 6,000 missiles into Israel, that's not escalation.
No, it's only an escalation when we respond.
Yes. Now, on that happy note,
let's try something. Let's try something being more optimistic next
time. I'm watching red alerts popping up on my phone as we're talking. So, but it's just another routine day in the north.
No, we're calling it the new normal.
It is.
Just like we had to wear masks, and now it's going to become the new normal. This is the new normal in Israel.
Well, you know that if they don't fire a bunch of rockets by 7 or 8 in the morning, we start worrying.
So maybe they missed. They don't wake up.
Maybe something really serious is going on.
Exactly.
All right. Good. Well, thanks for joining us, and we'll do this again. It's always good to have an online conversation and actually see you as opposed to on the phone and just talking to you. So you have a good day where you are. You're early in the day.
Yes,
and
time to start my day now.
Very good.
All right.
To everyone else out there, thanks for being with us. Stay engaged. Stay safe.
Thank you for listening to Conflict Uncovered. As always, it's been another rough day in the Middle East. We hope you found this episode insightful and engaging. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, share and recommend with your friends, and review our podcast on your favorite platform. For more in-depth analysis and exclusive content, join our community and follow us on social media. Stay tuned for our next episode as we continue to explore the critical issues shaping the Middle East and the world. Until next time, stay informed and stay safe.